Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Let's get back to Iraq. I hope everybody had a safe and wonderful Halloween yesterday. It was nice to see so many kids in our neighborhood out and about. For some reason, I was anticipating a very low turnout for Halloween, but I was pleasantly surprised to see so many kids. Our neighborhood's one of the more popular neighborhoods for candy, and we're right next door to another neighborhood that's very popular, so they're connected. Kids from up to about 10 miles away all come to this neighborhood. Sometimes we have to block the streets off from oncoming traffic, so it's really nice to see that it's busy again because it had slowed down big time. With everything crazy going on in this world, it was nice to see people taking a break from all the craziness to take their children out and going trick-or-treating. So very enjoyable. Anyways, Al Sundini is definitely getting his government settled and ready to work. That's the word. Anyways, we'll talk about it here in just a moment. You should be more interested in what it is the United States is saying about Iraq. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, now's the time to buy the shine. Go to our friends over at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. When this article first came out, I read it like a handful of times. I was trying to figure out what about it just didn't sound right, I guess is what it was. I think it is the wording that is being used to describe what the United States has in store for Iraq. There's just something about it. I'll run it past you and get your opinion. How will the new government manage Baghdad's relationship with Washington? So if you just scroll down here after a couple of paragraphs, anyways, it gets over here about this Jennifer Gavato, U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, had confirmed in an interview with the news that the United States will not abandon Iraq and that Washington considers Baghdad a strategic partner. Now, they say that all the time, so it's no big deal. But it's the very next paragraph that I found interesting. She said, "We have an ambitious agenda in Iraq, and we consider it a strategic partner for America. And we see a partner in the new Iraqi government." So this part right here, we have an ambitious agenda in Iraq. What do you mean you have an ambitious agenda in Iraq? You know, there's something about that doesn't sit right. They got to remember that Iraq, it doesn't belong to the United States. It belongs to the Iraqi people. So to say we have an ambitious agenda in Iraq, why don't you let the new government have their own ambitious agenda in Iraq? So maybe I'm just being picky, but every time I see that sentence, it just really jumps out at me. You know, our government has been quite the bully lately. I'm just wondering what it is they have in mind for Iraq, and whatever it is, I hope it benefits Iraqi people. So maybe I'm just looking too much into this sentence, but it just didn't sit with me the right way. Now, I'm still hearing people post in groups that this guru or that guru is still misleading people, telling them they anticipate an exchange rate increase back to the original. And I don't mean the 1,190 dinars. They're talking about the $3 rate. You guys, there's no indication of that anywhere out there. Nowhere whatsoever. So, I've been hearing this for as long as I've been doing this. Other so-called gurus making these reports. They're just false, you guys. If anything, and nobody said that it's even in this budget, if anything, they'll reinstate it back to the original rate where it was. That's the first step. But nowhere in here does it say that they're going to reinstate the 322 rate. So just be careful who you're getting the news from. Now, this is phenomenal news for Iraq. Iraq is the 8th Arab country with the fastest growing economy in 2023. I thought they were the 2nd fastest in the world. Now, all of a sudden, they're the 8th fastest in the Arab countries. Okay, well, you got to love the news. But either way, that's really good for Iraq. This is what we want. What we really need in order to get a very decent increase in the value of the Iraqi dinar is a stable government with stable country and low unemployment numbers. We need to get there. So hopefully this new government that's being formed is going to tackle these issues. Now the crazy thought is this. Look at the growth of Iraq, and this is despite the fact that they had to go through elections, a 1 year delay, civil unrest, dealing with corrupt politicians, no budget for an entire year, but yet they still managed to get the 8th fastest growing economy in 2023 for the Arab countries. Can you imagine if they had their crap together where they would be? Al-Sundin is trying to make sure that they get the draft budget put forward right away. The faster the better. They need to do what they can to start building the private and public sectors in order to provide jobs for those out there who are unemployed, especially the youth who are starting to get impatient. And when that happens, they get edgy and then they start protesting. So not only does Iraq have the 8th fastest growing economy in the Arab world, but the Iraq oil ministry announces achieving more than $9 billion in crude sales within a month. And that's with oil prices dropping slightly, which makes me ask the question once again, can you imagine where Iraq would be today if they just had a stable government and a stable country without having to deal with all the corruption? We need Iraq to do more for their people with all this great surplus of money that's coming in. In one of the articles, it's stating that they're going to have within the next 2 years a surplus of around $200 billion the country is going to have to use for their budget. So people were asking me about this particular article, and really it doesn't do very much to address the exchange rate. I know the headlines are grabbing. It just says Al-Sundin resolves the position, changing the dollar exchange rate, and calls the term corruption pandemic. And all he is saying to the news is simply this. The people who are responsible for changing the exchange rate is the Central Bank of Iraq, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. They are the ones responsible for the direction of the exchange rate for the Iraqi dinar. You can see right here, it says Al-Sundin said in his first press conference after forming the government and gaining the confidence of the House of Representatives, the central bank is the only responsible party for changing the dollar exchange rate. And as an executive authority, we are committed to this aspect and we support the independence of the bank, and the government is committed to implementing the law. However, he added, but the decision to change the exchange rate in the past was not accompanied by measures to protect the poor classes. But here's the thing, in any country, whenever you devalue your currency, it's disproportionately going to always affect the poorest people first because they lose their purchasing power. Rich people could care less. They're rich. They won't feel the pinch, not like poor people. So, anytime you devalue currency, that's going to happen. So after reviewing the news over the last couple of days, you really do got to think about this. If all goes well and there's nobody stealing their money, they're about to have $200 billion of surplus money. And in these articles, it does say that Al-Sundin is going to set sometime in October of next year for early elections all over again. At least he seems to be honoring the agreement with Saudi. Now, whether they actually go through with it, that's another thing altogether. But it looks like, once again, we're looking at possible early elections by next October. And hopefully you won't see the same kind of hangups that we've seen this last time, because Iraq is poised to really position themselves in a strong position within the international community if they could just get their crap together over there. We know that Saudi Arabia, as well as members of the OPEC, are getting ready to lower their production of oil by a significant amount. And it's going to cause the price of oil to shoot up to the point now where we have Biden actually making threats for regime change in Saudi Arabia. The audacity from Biden is just unbelievable. But that's not the only one. There's another country too, and I can't remember off the top of my head, that was reducing their production of oil, and Biden said that they need a regime change as well. So you can see what happens. It's our history that if we can't get our way when it comes to oil, you'll see regime change, especially if it threatens our status as the world's reserve dollar. But anyways, I was trying to say a little while ago, the 8th fastest growing economy, $9 billion a month in sales, a possible $200 billion in surplus money. It just seems like Iraq is teetering right on the edge of finally getting back on track and being a great nation. and ready to do business internationally. I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to benefit the Iraqi people. Hopefully they continue down this path and Iraqi people prosper. And if they prosper, then hopefully, with our fingers crossed, their currency will increase in value and will prosper as well. Okay? Anyways, that's it for now, you guys. I look forward to your comments, and I will catch you later. I'm out.